Growing squash is a rewarding endeavor, as they are prolific and versatile vegetables. There are various types of squash, each with its unique characteristics and growing requirements. Here's a discussion on how to grow squash and an overview of different types. 1. Variety selection. Choose the squash variety that best suits your preferences and growing conditions. Some common types of squash include summer squash, winter squash, and specialty or heirloom varieties. Consider factors such as flavor, texture, size, and disease resistance. Consult local gardening resources or nurseries for varieties well suited to your region. 2. Planting time. Squash is a warm season vegetable and requires temperatures above 60 degrees Fahrenheit 15 degrees Celsius to thrive. Start squash seeds indoors 2 to 4 weeks before the last frost date in your area, or directly sow seeds in the garden when the soil has warmed up and all danger of frost has passed. 3. Soil preparation. Squash prefers well-draining soil rich in organic matter. Prepare the planting area by removing weeds and incorporating compost or aged manure. This improves soil fertility and moisture retention. Squash plants prefer a slightly acidic to neutral soil with a pH between 6.0 and 7.0. 4. Planting. Plant squash seeds or seedlings in hills or mounds. For vining varieties, create hills spaced 3 to 6 feet, 0.9 to 1.8 meters, apart, with 2 to 3 seeds or seedlings per hill. For bush varieties, space the plants according to the recommended spacing for the specific variety. Space rows about 3 to 4 feet, 0.9 to 1.2 meters, apart. 5. Watering. Squash plants require regular watering, especially during hot and dry periods. Keep the soil consistently moist but not waterlogged. Water deeply, providing enough moisture to penetrate the root zone. Avoid overhead watering to minimize the risk of fungal diseases. Mulching around the plants helps conserve moisture and suppress weeds. 6. Fertilizing. Incorporate a balanced fertilizer or compost into the soil before planting squash. Fertilize again when the plants have established and started producing fruit. Use a side dressing of balanced fertilizer or compost, following the package instructions or conducting a soil test for precise nutrient recommendations. Apply additional fertilizer as needed throughout the growing season. 7. Support and trellising. Some squash varieties, such as certain types of winter squash, can benefit from trellising or support systems to save space and encourage proper fruit development. Install the support system at the time of planting or shortly after to avoid damaging the roots later. 8. Pest and disease management. Monitor your squash plants regularly for signs of pests, such as squash bugs or cucumber beetles. Implement integrated pest management (IPM) techniques, including hand-picking pests, using row covers, or employing organic pest control methods when necessary. Proper spacing, good airflow, and diligent sanitation practices can help reduce the risk of disease, such as powdery mildew or squash vine borers. 9. Harvesting. The harvesting time for squash varies depending on the type and variety. Summer squash is typically harvested when the fruits are young and tender, around 6 to 8 inches, 15 to 20 centimeters, long. Winter squash, such as butternut or acorn squash, is harvested when the fruits are fully mature and the skin has hardened. Refer to the specific variety for guidance on when to harvest. 10. Storage and consumption. Summer squash is best consumed fresh and should be harvested regularly to promote continued fruit production. Winter squash can be stored in a cool, dry place with good air circulation. Properly cured and stored winter squash can last for several months. Common types of squash include summer squash. Examples include zucchini, yellow squash, and patty pan squash. These varieties have soft skin, are harvested when young, and are typically eaten fresh. Winter squash. Examples include butternut squash, acorn squash, and spaghetti squash. These varieties have hard skin, require longer growing seasons, and are typically harvested when fully mature. Winter squash can be stored for extended periods and are often used in cooking or baking. Specialty or heirloom squash. These are unique and lesser-known varieties of squash that offer diverse shapes, colors, and flavors. Examples include delicata squash, kabocha squash, and Hubbard squash. Specialty squash varieties can provide a fun and adventurous addition to your garden and culinary repertoire. By following these guidelines and adapting them to your specific growing conditions, you can enjoy a successful harvest of delicious squash. Remember to adjust your practices based on the specific requirements of the squash varieties you choose and any regional or climate considerations.